A power outage does more than turn off the lights. It starts a countdown for everything in your home that depends on a stable temperature. At first, the situation may not feel urgent. The refrigerator is still cold, the freezer is still frozen. Medication stored inside may seem safe. Most people assume the power will return before anything serious changes, but the longer the outage continues, the more uncertainty grows. You begin wondering whether the refrigerator is still cold enough. You think about the food inside, the cost of replacing it, and whether opening the door will make things worse. If someone in the household depends on temperature-sensitive medication, the concern becomes even more serious. This is where backup power stops feeling like a convenience. It becomes a way to protect the things that cannot simply be ignored until the grid comes back. Most households respond to a blackout in predictable ways. They keep the refrigerator door closed. They reduce unnecessary movement around the kitchen. They use coolers if they have them. They move a few important items together and try to preserve the cold air for as long as possible. These are logical steps. The problem is that they only slow the process down. A refrigerator is designed to maintain a controlled environment by cycling on and off. When the internal temperature rises, the compressor starts and removes heat. During a power outage, that process stops completely. The insulation helps hold the temperature for a while, but it cannot create more cooling. The same is true for a freezer. The frozen contents and insulated walls can delay warming, but they do not replace the electricity the appliance needs to operate. This creates a frustrating situation. Everything may look normal from the outside. The doors are closed, the lights inside are off, the appliance is silent. There may be no obvious sign that conditions are slowly changing. The visible problem is the outage. The hidden problem is time. Every minute without cooling reduces the margin for error. Opening the door repeatedly lets more warm air enter. A crowded refrigerator may behave differently from an almost empty one. The temperature of the room also matters, but during the outage, most people do not have complete information. They are trying to make decisions without knowing when the grid will return. This is why food preservation and medication storage are not only about owning a refrigerator. They are about maintaining the energy required to keep that refrigerator operating. Backup power can provide that missing layer. A compact generator, battery system, or other home energy source may help keep refrigeration running during an outage. But this only works when the system is matched to the appliance. A refrigerator does not consume power in a perfectly steady way. When the compressor starts, it may briefly demand more electricity than it uses while running normally. A backup system that appears large enough based on average consumption may still shut down if it cannot handle that startup demand. That is why simply plugging a refrigerator into a small power source does not automatically solve the problem. The system needs enough output to start the appliance, enough capacity to keep supporting it, and a reliable way to recharge or refuel if the outage continues. The real issue isn't keeping every appliance in the house running. It's maintaining the few functions that protect the most important items. That shift in perspective changes how backup power should be used. During a blackout, people often try to recreate normal life. They connect lights, televisions, computers, kitchen equipment, and anything else that feels familiar. But every additional device consumes part of the available power. If the backup system is limited, running several non-essential appliances can shorten the time available for refrigeration. It can also increase the total load until the system shuts down. A better approach begins with priorities. Food preservation may be one priority. Temperature-sensitive medication may be another. Communication, basic lighting, and certain medical devices may also matter, depending on the household. Once those priorities are clear, backup power becomes easier to manage. The goal is no longer to make the house feel completely normal. The goal is to preserve the functions that matter most. Think of the backup system as a limited emergency budget. Every connected device spends part of that budget. A light may spend very little. A phone charger may use a modest amount. A refrigerator may require more, especially when it starts. The question is not whether each device is useful. The question is whether using it is worth reducing the time available for higher priority needs. This is especially important when the length of the outage is unknown. A system may run a refrigerator, router, lamp, and television for a few hours, but if the power remains off through the night, that earlier convenience may reduce the remaining capacity when it matters more. Backup power protects food and medication most effectively when it is treated as a managed resource. That means understanding what the system can support before an emergency begins. It means knowing how the refrigerator behaves, how long the backup source may operate under load, and which other devices can be disconnected if necessary. It also means recognizing the limits of the system. A compact device may not be able to power the refrigerator continuously for an extended outage. In that case, it may still provide useful periods of operation that help maintain a safer temperature for longer. A larger system may offer more runtime, but it may also require more space, more setup, or another energy source. The value does not come from size alone. It comes from matching the system to the actual household need. Medication adds another layer of responsibility because storage requirements can vary. The product information, packaging, pharmacist, or medical provider should be treated as the source for how a specific medication needs to be stored. Backup power can help maintain refrigeration, but it does not replace clear storage guidance. That distinction matters. People sometimes assume that as long as a refrigerator is running occasionally, everything inside is automatically protected. But the important factor is whether the required conditions are actually maintained. The same principle applies to food. The backup system is only one part of the protection plan. The refrigerator must remain closed as much as possible. The connected load must stay within the system's limits. The available power must be monitored. The household must decide what receives priority. These actions work together. Without backup power, people are depending entirely on insulation and time. With a properly matched system, they gain more control. They can support refrigeration instead of waiting passively. They can reduce the risk of losing expensive food. They may be able to preserve important medication for longer. They can make decisions based on remaining power rather than hope alone. That does not remove every risk. It does create a more stable position during an uncertain event. The deeper lesson is that emergency power is not mainly about running more devices. It is about protecting essential functions when normal infrastructure is unavailable. For one household, that may mean food and medication. For another, it may mean communication or medical equipment. The equipment matters, but the priority comes first. There is a step-by-step framework in the description for evaluating compact backup power and understanding what it may support. Subscribe for more practical explanations about home energy, outages, and emergency preparation. The most useful backup system is the one that protects what your household cannot afford to lose.